The betrayal at Nexus Station. The vast expanse of Nexus Station stretched across 17 kilometers of gleaming metal and crystal, suspended in the darkness between star systems, like a jewel floating in an ocean of night. Dr. Maya Chen stood before the observation deck's massive viewport, watching ships from dozens of worlds arrive for what would become the most important day in human history. Today, after 5 grueling years of negotiations, Earth would finally join the intergalactic alliance. Maya was 43 years old, with kind eyes that had witnessed humanity's darkest moments and brightest hopes. Her black hair was streaked with premature silver, earned through countless sleepless nights spent studying alien cultures and languages. As Earth's first ambassador to the galaxy, she carried the dreams of 12 billion humans on her shoulders. The responsibility had aged her, but it had also strengthened her resolve to prove that humanity deserved its place among the stars. The Alliance represented 47 different species, each more incredible than the last. The Zephyrians appeared as walking mountains of living crystal, their bodies singing in harmonious tones that could shatter glass or heal wounds depending on their intent. The Nebulans existed as clouds of sentient gas, their thoughts forming patterns of light that danced through their translucent forms. The reptilian Saurons towered 9 feet tall, their scales changing color to reflect their emotions, while their keen intellect had made them the Alliance's finest engineers. But it was the Vorthons who had become humanity's closest allies. They resembled humans in many ways, though their skin held a slight blue tint, and their eyes were pools of liquid silver. Captain Theron Vex of the Vorthon Diplomatic Corps had worked alongside Maya for 3 years, helping her navigate the complex politics of galactic civilization. He stood beside her now, his expression troubled. "Something feels wrong about today," Theron said, his voice carrying the melodic accent of his homeworld. "The Purity Coalition has been too quiet lately. After years of opposing human membership, they simply stopped their protests last month." Maya turned from the viewport, her expression calm despite the worry in her friend's voice. The Purity Coalition was an extremist faction that believed only the original founding species should control the Alliance. They viewed newer members, especially humans, as contamination that would weaken the galaxy's stability. Their leader, a crystalline named Korath the Eternal, had spent decades building support for his vision of galactic superiority. "Perhaps they've finally accepted that humanity's time has come," Maya replied, though her trained diplomat's instincts told her Theron was right to be concerned. "Or perhaps they're planning something for after the ceremony. Either way, we've come too far to turn back now." The signing ceremony took place in the Grand Assembly Hall, a cathedral-like chamber that could hold representatives from every Alliance world. The ceiling was transparent aluminum, offering a breathtaking view of the nebula that surrounded Nexus Station. Thousands of beings filled the chamber, their diverse forms creating a tapestry of galactic civilization. Maya had spent years learning to read the body language and emotional cues of different species, and today she sensed excitement, hope, and underneath it all, a current of tension she couldn't quite identify. Chancellor Zerion of the Zephyrian Republic called the assembly to order, his crystalline form resonating with deep, ceremonial tones. "Today we welcome a young species that has shown remarkable potential for growth and cooperation. Despite their brief time among the stars, humans have demonstrated qualities that make them valuable additions to our alliance." Maya walked to the central platform, her heels clicking against the polished floor. Behind her came the Earth delegation, including General Marcus Rodriguez, her military advisor and oldest friend. Rodriguez was a weathered veteran of Earth's last major conflict, the resource wars that had ended 20 years ago. His presence here wasn't just ceremonial. He understood better than anyone what humanity was capable of when pushed to its limits. The treaty itself was a work of art, inscribed on sheets of programmable matter that could display text in any language simultaneously. As Maya approached the signing podium, she felt the weight of history settling on her shoulders. Every human who had ever looked up at the stars and wondered, what if, had led to this moment. Representatives of the Alliance, Maya began, her voice carrying through the hall's advanced acoustics to reach every listener in their native tongue. 5 years ago, humanity took its first tentative steps beyond our home system. We came to you not as conquerors, but as students eager to learn our place in this vast community of worlds. She paused, looking around the hall at faces both familiar and strange. The Altarian trade delegation nodded their approval. They had profited greatly from human innovation and work ethic. The Vexian Science Council displayed patterns of approval through their bioluminescent forms. Human researchers had made breakthrough discoveries when paired with Vexian theoretical knowledge. We know some of you still harbor doubts about our species. You look at our history and see war, conflict, and destruction. You're not wrong. Humanity has made terrible mistakes, caused immense suffering, and nearly destroyed our own world through ignorance and greed. The hall grew quieter. Even species that didn't breathe seemed to hold their breath. But we learned, we grew, we chose to be better, far than our worst impulses, because we discovered something more powerful than any weapon, the dream of exploring the universe not alone, but together with friends we had yet to meet. Maya reached for the signing stylus, a device that would encode her biological signature into the treaty itself. As her fingers closed around it, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. In the upper galleries, figures in hooded robes were moving into position. She recognized the ceremonial dress of the Purity Coalition's militant wing. For a split second, Maya considered calling out, warning security, stopping the ceremony. But she had suspected this moment might come, and she had made her choice long ago. Sometimes, the greatest service one could perform for peace was to become a martyr for it. Today, we don't just sign a treaty, she continued, her voice growing stronger even as she saw the glint of energy weapons being raised in the galleries. We sign a promise that humanity will stand with you against any darkness, face any threat, make any sacrifice necessary to protect this alliance of worlds. The energy blast struck her in the chest just as she pressed the stylus to the treaty. The programmable matter flared with light as her biological signature was recorded, making the treaty official even as she fell. The ceremonial stylus clattered to the floor, its work complete. Chaos erupted in the assembly hall. Security forces rushed toward the galleries while delegates dove for cover behind their seats. But Maya's voice somehow still reached them, carried by the hall's emergency broadcast system that had activated automatically when violence was detected. "Don't let them divide us," she whispered, her words amplified throughout the station and transmitted across the galaxy. "We came here to build something beautiful. Don't let my death destroy what we've worked so hard to create." General Rodriguez reached her first, his military training allowing him to move through the panic with practiced efficiency. He knelt beside his friend, cradling her head as her life ebbed away. Around them, the energy weapons continued to fire, but now they were targeting anyone who tried to help Maya or restore order. "The Vorthons," Maya gasped, looking up at Rodriguez. "They'll blame Theron's people. Don't let them. This isn't what it seems." Rodriguez understood. Maya had always been 3 steps ahead of everyone else in political maneuvering. If she said this wasn't what it seemed, then the attack was more complex than it appeared. The general activated his personal communicator, sending a coded message that would reach Earth in minutes. Operation Silent Thunder was now active. As Maya's eyes closed for the final time, the attackers activated personal teleportation devices and vanished, leaving behind only their weapons and the growing pool of blood around Earth's first galactic ambassador. But they had made one crucial mistake in their planning. The weapons they left behind were of Vorthon design, clearly meant to implicate humanity's closest allies in the Alliance. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see how humanity would respond to this ultimate betrayal. Most species expected grief, protests, perhaps some economic sanctions. Some worried about human military retaliation against the Vorthons. None of them anticipated what actually happened next. Silence. Every human ship in Alliance space suddenly changed course and began the long journey home. Trade negotiations were quietly suspended. Cultural exchange programs were politely ended. Human students at Alliance universities completed their current courses and departed without enrolling for the next semester. Even the human medical teams providing aid to refugee populations in war-torn systems packed their equipment and left. Within 72 hours of Maya's assassination, nearly every human in Alliance territory had simply vanished, leaving behind empty embassy buildings and unanswered communication channels. Earth itself went dark, cutting all diplomatic and commercial ties with the galactic community. The message was clear, even in its silence. Humanity was withdrawing from galactic civilization entirely. But what the Alliance didn't understand was that this wasn't grief or fear driving humanity's retreat. It was preparation. During 5 years of diplomacy, humans had been doing much more than just learning about alien cultures. They had been studying weaknesses, mapping supply lines, and identifying the real threats to galactic peace. Maya Chen had died knowing that her sacrifice would expose the true enemies of the Alliance. Now it was up to the living to honor her memory and ensure that her death would not be in vain. In hidden bunkers throughout human space, General Rodriguez was coordinating with sleeper agents who had spent years integrating themselves into alien society. The galaxy had killed humanity's angel of peace. Soon, they would meet humanity's angel of war. The reckoning begins. 30 days after Ambassador Maya Chen's assassination, 3 star systems simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not conquered, not abandoned. They vanished. The Kepler system, home to the Purity Coalition's primary military academy. The Zirion Binary, where Coalition leadership had maintained their secret headquarters for decades. And most shocking of all, New Korath, the heavily defended world where the Coalition's founder had built his crystalline palace and stored the faction's vast wealth. No explosions registered on long-range sensors. No debris fields marked their former locations. No distress signals had been transmitted. The systems had simply been there one day and gone the next, leaving behind empty space that still curved starlight around where their gravitational fields should have been. Alliance emergency response fleets rushed to investigate, but found nothing except perfectly empty vacuum. Even the stars that had once illuminated those worlds continued to shine their light into nothingness, as if the entire systems had been carefully extracted from reality itself. The galaxy reacted with stunned disbelief. The Purity Coalition had possessed some of the most advanced defensive technology in known space. New Korath alone had been protected by energy shields that could deflect asteroid impacts and orbital platforms armed with planet-killing weapons. How could an entire world simply disappear without anyone noticing the attack? Chancellor Zerion of the Zephyrian Republic called an emergency session of the Alliance Council. Representatives from 47 worlds gathered once again in the Grand Assembly Hall where Maya had died, though this time the atmosphere was markedly different. Fear had replaced hope, and suspicious glances were exchanged between species that had been allies for centuries. "We face an unprecedented threat," Chichu, Unseller Xerion announced, his crystalline form resonating with harmonics of deep concern. 3 heavily populated systems have vanished without explanation. We must determine who possesses such terrible power and why they would use it. The nebular representative, a shifting cloud of sentient gas named Whisper of Stars, pulsed with patterns of anxiety. Our deep space monitoring stations detected no energy signatures consistent with known weapons technology. Whatever did this operates on principles we don't understand. Perhaps we should be asking a different question, suggested Councillor Thane of the Sauron Engineering Guild. His reptilian features displayed the deep green coloration that indicated intense concentration. Not who could do this, but who would want to. The Purity Coalition had made many enemies through their extremist politics. Captain Theron Vex of the Vorthon Diplomatic Corps rose from his seat, his silver eyes reflecting the chamber's lights like mirrors. I may have insight into this matter. Before Ambassador Chen's death, she shared concerns about coalition activities that went beyond political extremism. She believed they were planning something catastrophic. The assembly erupted in debate. Some representatives accused the Vorthons of deflecting blame for the assassination. Others demanded military action against whoever was responsible for the disappearances. A few suggested that humanity itself might be involved, though most dismissed this as impossible given their apparent technological limitations. The debate was interrupted by an unexpected announcement from the station's communication center. A human fleet was requesting permission to dock at Nexus Station, not the small diplomatic vessels they had used previously, but massive ships that registered on sensors as being larger than anything humanity had previously constructed. "Impossible," muttered Admiral Kex of the Alliance Defense Force. "Human industrial capacity couldn't produce vessels of that size. Our intelligence reports indicate they barely have the resources to maintain their current fleet." But there they were on the main display screen, 12 ships that dwarfed the largest Alliance vessels. Their hull designs were unfamiliar, incorporating curves and angles that seemed to bend light around them in ways that shouldn't have been possible. They moved through space with an eerie grace, their propulsion systems producing no visible energy signatures, yet somehow allowing them to accelerate at rates that should have reduced their cruise to paste. General Marcus Rodriguez's voice came through the communication system, clear and calm despite the magnitude of what was happening. "This is General Rodriguez of Earth Defense Command, requesting immediate audience with the Alliance Council. I believe we have matters to discuss regarding recent unfortunate events." The Council hastily agreed to receive the human delegation. As Rodriguez and his team made their way to the assembly hall, Alliance security forces were quietly briefed on heightened alert protocols. No one knew what to expect from humanity's first official contact since Maya's death. Rodriguez entered the hall wearing his full military dress uniform, his weathered face showing none of the grief that had been expected from a species in mourning. Behind him walked 12 other humans, each carrying themselves with the confident bearing of soldiers who had seen combat and emerged victorious. They took their seats at the human delegation table that had remained empty since the assassination. "Honored representatives," Rodriguez began, his voice carrying easily through the hall's acoustics. "I come before you today to address the recent disappearance of 3 star systems and to clarify humanity's role in galactic affairs going forward." The directness of his statement sent ripples of shock through the assembly. Most had expected denials or expressions of concern, not what sounded almost like an admission of responsibility. 30 days ago, extremists murdered Ambassador Maya Chen during what should have been a celebration of interspecies cooperation. The weapons they used were designed to implicate our Vorthon allies, hoping to drive a wedge between humanity and our closest friends in this alliance. Rodriguez paused, his gaze sweeping across the assembled representatives. What the assassins didn't understand was that Maya knew of their plot. She chose to proceed with the ceremony anyway, sacrificing herself to expose the full extent of the Purity Coalition's conspiracy against galactic peace. Captain Theron stood up, his expression mixing relief with admiration. "Maya knew she would die. She suspected. We both did. For months, our intelligence services had been tracking coalition activities across dozens of worlds. We discovered plans not just to kill Maya, but to systematically eliminate every moderate voice in the Alliance and replace them with extremist leadership." The human general activated a holographic display that filled the center of the hall. It showed a complex web of connections linking coalition cells to terrorist activities, assassination plots, and resource theft spanning decades. The scope was staggering, involving corruption at the highest levels of several Alliance governments. "The 3 missing star systems haven't been destroyed," Rodriguez continued, his tone remaining conversational despite the magnitude of his revelation. "They've been relocated to uninhabited regions of space where their populations can be re-educated regarding the benefits of peaceful coexistence." The hall erupted in shocked exclamations. The technological implications were staggering. Humanity possessed the ability to move entire solar systems, something that should have been theoretically impossible for a species that had only achieved interstellar flight within the last century. "How?" demanded Admiral Kex. "Your species barely has the industrial capacity to maintain orbital habitats. How could you possibly possess technology capable of relocating star systems?" Rodriguez smiled, and for the first time, the Alliance representatives got a glimpse of why humanity's history had been written in blood and conquest. It was the smile of a predator who had been underestimated by its prey. "Did you really think we sent diplomats, traders, and students to your worlds without any other purpose? Every human who has lived among your people for the past 5 years has been gathering intelligence on your technology, your defenses, your capabilities, and your weaknesses." The implications hit the assembled aliens like a physical blow. Thousands of humans had been welcomed into their most secure facilities, their research institutions, their military academies. They had been treated as primitive but friendly newcomers, granted access to technologies and information that would have been restricted from species considered potential threats. "We learned very quickly that the galaxy operates on the assumption that primitive means harmless," Rodriguez continued. "You shared your scientific knowledge freely because you believed we couldn't possibly understand or improve upon it. You showed us your military installations because you assumed we lacked the industrial capacity to threaten them." He gestured to his companions, and each one stepped forward to reveal their true identities. Dr. Sarah Kim, whom the Vexian Science Council knew as a graduate student in theoretical physics, was actually Earth's leading expert in dimensional engineering. Lieutenant Commander Torres, who had served as a cultural exchange representative with the Sauron Engineering Guild, was the designer of humanity's new fleet. Captain Singh, a seemingly naive trade negotiator, was Earth's director of strategic intelligence. Every human who died defending Maya during the attack had volunteered for that assignment, knowing they might not survive. Every human who appeared to flee in panic was actually gathering final intelligence before returning home to prepare for war. The silence in the hall was deafening. 47 species that had considered themselves the guardians of galactic civilization were realizing they had been comprehensively outmaneuvered by newcomers they had viewed as barely civilized barbarians. Chancellor Zerion's crystalline form resonated with tones of deep uncertainty. "What do you want from us, General Rodriguez?" "Justice. Real justice, not the political compromise that usually passes for accountability in this body." Maya died believing in the dream of peaceful coexistence between species. Her sacrifice exposed the conspiracy that threatened to destroy that dream. Now you have a choice. Rodriguez activated another holographic display, this one showing the current locations of the relocated star systems. The populations appeared to be unharmed, living in temporary settlements while their worlds orbited new stars in previously empty regions of space. "Help us hunt down the remaining coalition leadership and prove that the Alliance truly stands for justice and cooperation. Or protect them, and learn why humanity spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of warfare before we ever looked up at the stars." The general's words carried no threat, no bluster, just the calm certainty of someone who had already calculated all possible outcomes and prepared for each one. "The choice is yours," Rodriguez concluded, "but choose quickly. Maya gave her life to prove that different species could work together to build something greater than any of us could achieve alone. Don't let her sacrifice be in vain." As the Alliance Council prepared to vote on humanity's ultimatum, word was already spreading throughout the galaxy. Earth's newest allies, the relocated populations of the former coalition worlds, were broadcasting their testimonies about humane treatment and the revelation of their leaders' true crimes against galactic peace. The galaxy was about to learn that underestimating humanity was the most dangerous mistake any species could make. And in the quiet corridors of Nexus Station, Ambassador Maya Chen's dream of unity through strength was finally becoming reality, one careful diplomatic move at a time. Even in death, she was still humanity's greatest weapon.